The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to the number one Contender podcast, the show your favorite nerds talk all things movie trivia schmodown. I am your host, Jarod the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs, and joining me, as always, is your resident Green Lantern, your favorite dungeon head. We got Travis Grossman.
I need this very badly.
I didn't realize how bad I sound until I had my voice coming through to my own ears through the headphones. But there's a reason why I'm only doing one show today, and there's not going to be a Knights of the Nerd Republic this week. There'll be one next week. It'll probably be the last thing we record before we go to camp. Which reminds me, actually, I don't think we'll end up missing number one Contender for camp. I think that kind of falls just perfectly outside of the range. It'll probably be our first show back from camp. Assuming we shall see. There was also a good chance that we all come back and we're like, I'm sleeping in because I'm tired from camp, and that might happen as well. So after camp, regularly scheduled programming will resume across the board. But until then, we appreciate everybody's patience while some of the other shows are here and there. But yeah, we have a light week of matches. We also have what I'm going to call tentative schedule per word of Christian Harloff. There are some matches that apparently aren't going to come to pass the way they're presented on the schedule because they are trying to work in-person matches again. So we're going to run through the schedule for July as writ and make adjustments as necessary throughout the month. So covering things you've already seen, we have King Khan of the Finstock Exchange going up against Ben Goddard of the Den, David Del Rio, now freshly of the Dungeon, versus Frank Moran of Swag, and then Barbarian of the Exchange versus Drew McWeeny of The Usual Suspects, which we saw this week. Other than that, we have the Dens, the Outsiders versus the Quirky Mercs' Press Room. Brother Lomas is coming back to take on Beth May. Jada Paramo of the Den versus Eric Zipper. Deception versus Lightning Time. Deception versus Lightning Time. As a throwdown on the 9th. I should also be saying the dates with these, but you can figure that out. We'll say that for here, though. Claudia Dolph of Corruption versus Christy V on July 14th. Jesse Swift of the Quirky Mercs versus Jacob Whitneben in the IG on the 15th. Paige Fabretti versus Rachel Silverstrini of The Usual Suspects in the Den, respectively, on July 21st. In singles, John Hoey of the Dungeon versus Zach Burkett of the Stars on July 22nd in the Star Wars division. We have a TBA Stars and a TBA Swag teams match on Friday, July 23rd. We have Brittany Young of the Stars versus Clee Wiggins of Corruption on Wednesday, July 28th. Nikki DiMolanta will be making her debut against Jeff Lowe. DiMolanta representing The Usual Suspects, Jeff Lowe of the Stars in the Star Wars division on July 29th. And then there's a to-be-determined singles match on Friday, July 30th which will then all culminate in, as you've talked about already a couple times, Schmodown Collision 4, 4-match event on Saturday, July 31st, which will feature, just for being thorough's sake, Andrew DiMolanta of the Quirky Mercs. I got confused for a second. I thought I was reading Ace Cabrera, and I'm sorry, guys.
Andrew DiMolanta of the Quum.
Of the Quirky
That joke
Mercs.
doesn't work as well with Laura Kelly because swag is just swag.
Yes. Yeah, it is just kind of
Kevin Smith of the Quum versus Marisol McKee of the Co. Amaru Moses of the Us. It also doesn't work with the Den.
It does not work with the Den.
We gotta switch up these names. It doesn't work.
Yeah, come on, guys. You got to make it easier to make jokes out of for the abbreviations. And then the main event that will probably end this podcast because Travis and I have a lot on the line for it. Shazam versus Corruption for the team's title.
I bet my entire stock portfolio on this match.
Travis, I think that was a very, very unsafe financial decision. I'm not even saying that as I'm sure Corruption will win. The
joke is I don't invest in the stock market.
Don't make me laugh too much. It hurts. Yeah. So it's a fun lineup of matches, like that's a really good lineup of matches leading up to what will be a absolute home run of a collision. Collision's going to be a hell of a time. It's a great list of matches.
I just noticed when we looked through this when it went up, at least when I looked through it, they did have the championship match between Merle and Ethan Irwin in the middle of the month.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think that's that does
no longer
looks like
there.
They're moving that. Yeah, I bet they're saving it for a live event. I think they're going to be able to pull off a live event sooner than they thought they were, and I think that's why they yanked that from the schedule. That's complete speculation. I could be completely wrong. I know there's just people who do watch. So if we're wrong, it'll be painful.
I've received word from Christian middle name Harloff himself. That is the case. I don't know his middle name, or else I'd admit. Is it George? Yeah, that is. Yeah.
I only know because Ellis does that bit.
I've received word from
for your test
Christian Mark George Ellis Harloff that
Mark George Ellis. But yeah, cool lineup of matches. Speaking of cool matches, let's jump into this week's King Khan versus Ben Goddard. Travis, thoughts?
Finstock people need to stop having perfect games. It's scaring me.
My thoughts exactly. First of all, good on Ben Goddard. He's like that was a tooth and nail fight. Making King Khan actually have to answer questions in round 3. That's good. I think we're gonna. I will be surprised the next time we have a Kevin Smets. In that, the first match where he had to answer a question in round 3 was also the first match he ever lost. You know what I mean? That and granted, when you're playing against somebody who is also like a freight train, I think you need to be, and this is no disrespect to Smets or King Khan for his first match, I think there needs to be both a knowledge differential. You have obviously you need to know more than your opponent to win, or get luckier with the questions. One of the two. But sometimes somebody ends up in a match where they are fighting somebody who is considerably above their weight class, trivia-wise. And they just like how do you expect that person to go to round 3 sometimes? So that's what I didn't think that would happen to Ben Goddard going up against King Khan.
I think this match was all just a matter of luck. I think Ben got really unlucky on the wheel spin.
Yeah.
Got saddled with a category that was really tough, and it ended up not working out in round 3. It happens. I don't think King Khan is necessarily out of his weight class, right? Like
not at all.
He went to the 5-pointer with JTE, right? Like this was definitely could have gone to sudden death if he had spun his category.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Finstock was in good managing form here, which will be the last time we're able to say that for the episode. More on that later. But yeah, no, I liked it. I want to see where King Khan is going as a competitor. I think both he and Ben Goddard have the potential to be belted at some point in their careers. Like, sure. I know this is only the second match for Khan, but like, I don't know. Like, I see championship material in both of these guys.
It's terrifying how many of the Finstock rookies you can look at and go like, yeah, they'll probably have a belt. Like, they'll probably be a champion.
Yeah. They'll do it one day.
But I still think that like that's part of his draft strategy, right? Like, and it's not something I thought of. We all thought, well, he's just drafting all these rookies. But if you're drafting strong singles rookies, right, they're going to be playing rookies in their opening matches, and Dagnino knows how to manage for the game better than anyone. And so they're going to have a leg up in their opening match against another rookie.
Yeah.
And then from there, like, okay, now they have the experience. They know how the game works. They know how it feels to play now. Now they can play whoever.
Yeah. And I think that just like the anatomy of the Finstock Exchange's roster is something that is impressive. Because while it's made up of all these rookies, you have the central. Sorry.
Yeah, you have Roka and JTE who know the game inside and out, and you have Barbarian who has the knowledge. And now suddenly all these rookies can just perfect game, right? Like,
yeah.
With the confidence of not having to play like Ben Bateman, Mike Kalinowski, Chance Ellison, or Dan Murrell, right? Like,
yeah.
If your opening match is against one of them, that's a little spooky. You might get a little freaked out. You might miss a few questions because of nerves. These guys are playing other rookies who have never actually played a Schmoedown match. Like, they'll be fine.
I agree completely. And the fact that, like, you can count on one hand the number of his rookies that did not win their first match. I think you can still count on one hand the amount of matches that the exchange has lost so far this season.
It's close. It's somewhere between 5 and 8.
Yeah. I'm gonna look that up right now.
But also in the schedule we missed. I forgot. I realized it as you were talking. Shut your truck mouth. The undercard for Deception v Lightning Time is Rushmore v Final Exam.
I did not see that.
So it's basically the quarter.
Oh yeah, you're right. I couldn't see that.
The tournament flipped around. So, slotting in Final Exam for.
Assuming this is up to date per this week's matches. For audio listeners, I will read it, but I have the faction standings pulled up. At current, there is no faction in first place.
I'm sorry? I clearly see the dungeon with a 9-point lead that we are very quickly losing, I will admit.
I wouldn't say quickly losing. I'd say that, you know.
Dan needs to win his championship match for it to be cozy again, but
Yeah, I think you're right. But that number, we were we were not wrong. We were wrong. It's not in the double digits, but that is where that stands. But as things shake out, we have the dungeon with 23 matches played, 13 wins, 10 losses, 2 KOs, and they've been KO'd once. The Finstock Exchange has played 25 matches, clocking with 16 wins, 9 losses, 7 KOs, and has not been KO'd at all yet this season with 38 points. Corruption is sitting at 19 matches played, 10 wins, 9 losses, 2 KOs, and they've been KO'd no times as well. 31 points to Corruption. The Quirky Mercs clock in at 18 points with 18 wins and 10 losses. They have 2 KOs and have been KO'd 4 times. They have 31 points as well.
I was like, how is that possible? And I remembered they've won 2 belts this season.
Yeah. The mid-tier players keep getting punched in the throat, and then you have like the Shazam and Dimalanta coming through like animals. We have the Den at 18 points with 9 wins, 9 defeats, 2 knockouts. They have not been knocked out yet, and they have 27 points. Usual Suspects with 18 matches played, 10 wins, 8 defeats, no KOs, and have been KO'd 4 times, 22 points. Swag sitting at 15 matches played, 5 wins, 10 defeats, no KOs, and they've been KO'd 4 times, 11 points. And the Stars with a similar looking record of 16 matches played, 5 wins, 11 defeats, 0 knockouts, has been KO'd twice, and they also have 11 points. So quick faction standing right there going into the month of the Collision. Exciting stuff. But back to the matches. Lost my place here. All right. Dave Del Rio versus Frank Moran. This was a good one. Very impressive performance from David Del Rio. Obviously, he was dropped from the Den and then became a part of the Dungeon and put on a hell of a show.
I didn't know either of these players. Was David Del Rio a rookie last season, or has he been around? They said he was 1-3, so I'd imagine he was.
I think he's been around for a minute.
Okay, maybe he's like a because Ty Lieberman is the same way for me. Like I looked and I went, I think this is a person I've like not that I've necessarily seen, but I know this is a person that has played the Schmodown before, just before my time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I think he has been around and he's just kind of been here or there. Because I can't remember honestly, and like last year's a blur. Like like we've said before, most of last year was made up Schmodown wise by the Star Wars and Inner Geekdom tournaments, and then we were both kind of in the wind for the latter half of the season, and did a lot of like aggressive catching up leading up to the Spectacular.
Just like who is playing for what belt?
Yeah. But it was a great match. It's one of those like there's not a whole lot of analysis to do on some matches.
Nope.
It's just a very cut
this
and
is
dry,
one
like,
of them.
like you just kind of punched somebody in the mouth and walked away. But yeah, very impressed by the level of play here. Kaiser continues to be a force of nature as a manager. You know, you just have that energy. He has. I also
Crackhead dad.
Crackhead dad. He's Crackhead dad. I want to know, roughly speaking, if there was if the no swearing rule in the Schmodown was not in effect, how many times during this match Winston Marshall would have said the Samuel L. Jackson word, also known as my favorite word?
Probably a lot.
Like, because he kept hitting that, like, we're gonna get this ma, and I'm like, that's supposed to have a there at the end of it. So also
He said something that was gonna be my name. I think it was something about getting ribs. And I was gonna make that my name this week. I'm gonna get you ribs.
I'm gonna get you ribs.
And then
is that the way we like praise each other now? Like, we see the other one. Like,
when you're done, I'm getting you ribs.
Ow, my ribs hurt.
Oh, I'll get you a new set.
Thank you.
Don't worry.
When Travis tells me I'll get you ribs, he's not talking about like getting me baby back ribs. He's like, we will replace your currently.
Well, they'll be from a baby.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Just don't drink the adrenochrome without me.
But yeah, that was going to be my name. And then the challenge in the last match happened. And then I knew Barbarian's 5-pointer. So that's why my name is what it is. But
interesting. Okay, so we're just going to get into the Barbarian versus Drew McWeeny then.
Okay.
I cannot remember the last time I had a perfect round one watching a singles match. And I was very impressed with myself because, like Travis and I have said 1,000 times, not singles players. Again, if I ever were to play, I'm playing in Star Wars and maybe Inner Geekdom. And my strong suit is not singles. So I was impressed with myself and having a lot of fun watching. How do we feel about the challenge? I like
how the Sams have levined.
Ow!
I'm
in so much pain.
This is one of those cases where technically he's right.
He's very right.
Technically, the rule book says that he was correct to challenge there, and I agree with him on that. But I think that if you're going to agree with this and not the Ben Bateman challenge from last week, you've got to reevaluate some things.
I think for Sam, and I am not going to begrudge him this.
I'm not even talking about him specifically. He's a manager. He's going to do it. Regardless of if he agrees with other challenges, he's going to challenge for his player.
Oh, yeah, of course. And that's what
all them schmucks out there.
Them schmoes.
I'm gonna
a schmo even. I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again this week because it warrants being said. I would feel so comfortable and so safe with a manager like Sam Levine that I have somebody with a wealth of trivia knowledge running behind me who can cover my ass with a challenge, realize there's a challenge on the table, fight like hell if I get challenged, right? And just all around be just a very, very good stopgap between the judges' table and the competitors. on the player's behalf. And I think all the managers are capable of that, obviously. But I think Sam Levine is the one who's gotten to like show that like, not my guy. Not my guy. You knock it off right now. Not my guy. And I think it's very admirable, and I love seeing that. What was Barbarian's 5? I can't remember.
The plot of Newsies.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I too beat Barbarian because I don't like Newsies. Never been a fan of that show, but yeah, I was sitting there and I was like, come on, he's got to know Newsies. He's got to know Newsies. But then put on a hell of a match here. And I will say,
besides his 5 went perfect.
Barbarian besides his 5 went perfect. I also, that reminded me, they're perfect. I was about to make up their perfect round, and that reminded me, and I want to hop back to King Kong versus Ben Goddard. And a couple matches we've had lately in general. Because I know it came up. The concept of losing a match because you missed your bonus question, I personally feel like is the thing that would drive me the craziest. Like,
no, you're fine. I can hear something in the background.
Okay. What about who? Vamp for me, Travis. Vamp.
I understand what you're saying. What was the match that? Yeah, that's what it was.
How about now?
Yeah, that was it. I've never been able to hear it before today. Just so you know, like I have not been lying to you beforehand.
Curses. It's okay. I'll have to listen back and see if it's in the show or not. Probably not.
It's not bad. It wasn't covering you up or anything. I realized what it was.
It might have just gotten louder just as it was running long. But like the concept of losing because I missed my bonus question, like that is what would drive me insane. Because it was like killed it in round 1. For all intents and purposes, you have a perfect game. But that one question missed.
And I think that comes down to what kind of player you are, right?
Yeah.
So I look at someone like a Barbarian, a King Khan, a Bengal, like what's becoming the standard issue player of I'm just going to answer perfectly to put to capitalize on my opponent's mistakes and make them have to answer their 5 before I have to answer my 5. And if that happens and they miss their 5, I win, right? Like that's just how the math works out. And then I look at somebody like a Drew McWeeny, who has kind of a 4-point window to work in because Drew is so proficient on his 5s, right? I look at a Drew, I look at a JTE, I look at a Dan Merle, right? They're so good at hitting their 5-pointers without much effort. And I think they understand more how the 5-pointer works as a mechanic, that like, if you go into, I said last week, if you go into round 3 or the final round down 3 points, that's pretty detrimental because you have to answer 2 questions before they have to answer 1. I think that's if you're playing like 2 standard players playing each other. I think if you know you're proficient at hitting 5s, right? If you're like 80-20 on them even, then you know you have 4 points to work in, kind of under the same assumption though, where like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to answer my 5, but that's going to force them to have to hit a 5, and they're probably going to miss it. You know? And I just think that's an interesting dynamic. I don't know how you train to hit 5s better, right? Like they're always so specific and so tough
Yeah.
that to be that good is one of those you just have to know it.
Yeah. I think the final round, outside of doing anything like picking lucky numbers or sexy numbers or what have you, all you can really do is hope you pick something you like. Again, you can't. There's no like, okay, check down versus JTE type strategy. Here's what I put on the wheel tactically. Here's what the wheel looks like. Here's like when you find out the day of the match what the wheel looks like, any like last minute like preparation you can do. Because we know they find out what the wheel looks like day of. We don't know how long they have to cram for the wheel.
Yeah.
So like round 2, there's strategy to round 2. Round 3 is a bare knuckle brawl. There is no tactical advantage to acquire unless you already have the lead by a significant margin. Like you were saying. So yeah, round 3. I think that's why round 3 is so exciting, honestly, is that it's sheer knowledge. It's the fight, that you want.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would say that there's no way to work the game like there is in round 2, but it's the mental warfare of going in at an advantage or disadvantage, being like, okay, you have to answer 2 questions before I answer 1, and then you have to answer your 5, right? Like blanking their easier questions, right? Because if you can win off a 2-pointer and they have to go all the way to their 5, that's tough, right? Like if I'm the player that has to win, like go to their 5 and hit my 5 to stay in, that's really tough. But you got to play to the out of your opponent suddenly getting diarrhea.
Yeah.
Like just is what it is. And when, like I said, when you're a Drew McWeeny, when you're a JTE, where that kind of is what benefits them in singles, is being teams players. They know so much knowledge in specific things that if they get lucky and hit something they're deep in, they're going to hit the 5.
Yeah.
I think that's why they're so good at getting their 5-pointers. So
yeah, I was surprised by this
one.
Yeah.
Playing to that out is a good idea if you can do that. I will say that, again, I think the challenge is good. I think this is one of those, like, managers be on notice to catch it. Players be on notice that, like, try to play a little tighter. Try to be a little more not loose with your answers. Not that Drew was, like, a bad player or did something egregiously wrong. Just, he even said in his post-match that he was answering the wrong question at first by accident.
Yeah. He was like, I thought they were talking about drive, he said.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my thing too, is that I agree with both challenges. But if your disagreement with the Ben Bateman challenges, he didn't know because that's what everyone was saying. Well, he didn't know the answer anyway. So why does it matter? Drew admitted he was wrong.
Yeah.
Like he gave an answer and went, no, wait, that's wrong. It's True Grit, right? Like he did the thing people do when they get told their answer was wrong, that we see a lot. Like they'll just give oh wait, no, it was this thing. And they'll be like, yes, the answer was whatever. They just, because no one said anything before that, they had to count it because no one gave him. And granted, I wasn't watching, I was listening, so I don't know if anyone like shook their head or if Andrew Guy and Mark Ellis like eyed each other and went like, okay, that wasn't like, is that his answer? That wasn't right. We have to tell him it wasn't right. Like I didn't know cogs were turning.
There was like a little bit of that, like, unfortunately you said this, so no point. And then
they just didn't get to unfortunately until it was too late.
And then Sam Levine, like a bat out of hell, shows up in the stream.
Yeah.
Speaking of managers showing up in the stream, Ty Lieberman did a good job, as best as one can expect in such circumstances. Here's something I will say. I commend the way that Ty Lieberman and the Barbarian handled this, but I am not a fan of the opposing player and faction having to give a counter argument to a challenge unless it is like strictly like gameplay answer related. Like if the other team, like I'm gonna use the Return of the Jedi challenge from Damon DeMolanta 1, where like for them to challenge, like going to Alex Damon to be like, what's your counter argument to this challenge? That like to talk about like, well, no, like I feel like the more prevalent one is the shield generator more than the jamming, right? Or something like that. Tortuga, that kind of stuff. Like I want to hear what the other person has to say for a challenge. When it's something that's more oriented towards the desk, I'm a little less inclined to hear what the other person has to say, because at that point it's more of a like, how is the match being proctored challenge, less so than it is about like this answer is more right than the other answer, or this answer is more wrong than another answer, right? And like that, I don't know. It felt weird, and I like the way the Barbarian was like, and that is their challenge. Like, dude, like it's like, I don't like. What do you want me to say? Like, you want
Tom
me to be the Nazi
there.
who's,
Tom wasn't there. And they both clearly recognize, again, I could hear in their voice, they recognize that Sam was like correct. Like objectively, he was correct. And so there was nothing they could be like again, like if I'm there, my counter argument, because again, that it's structured that way to formalize it because of how broad the challenge can be, that like to stop people from yelling over top of each other, just to be like, okay, we're going to have you talk, and we're going to have you talk, and then we're going to talk about the thing off camera. But it's like I think the counter argument is that Drew admitted an incorrect answer. And that's if I have to counter, but like in reality, because I know how I am, granted, maybe kayfabe stops this, but I'd just be like, yeah, he's right.
Yeah, but like the fact that it felt like Lieberman and Barbarian both just kind of like let it slip away. Dagnino, Gucci, he might have, really committed, either A, committed to the bit of Bobby Gucci, Finstock, and also would have, as a manager, found a way to fight it and maintain deficit on McWeeny's part. But no, I thought it was a very interesting challenge and a hard-won battle, and a good win for Drew McWeeny. I think that's all we have for this week's matches. Looking forward to next week, which we may. Next week there will be a show. There's a chance the following week does not have a number one contender, but there will be a show next week, and it will be The Outsiders versus the Press Room on the 7th. Travis, predictions.
The Outsiders are Ben Goddard, Paul Preston.
Yes.
Okay. Outsiders.
I am inclined to agree with you. After that, Brother Lomas of the Finstock Exchange versus Beth May of the Quickie Mercs of the Coom.
The Kun. I guess Brother Lomas, he had a rough round 3 in his first game, but he's still a Finstock rookie. So
he's a Finstock rookie. But that's the thing, though. That was a rough round 3 for him. I don't see many matches having that kind of like a rough round 3. I would not be surprised if he comes through like a bat out of hell on this one and is just dropping elbows. So I'm putting a very confident bet on Brother Lomas here. Jada Parma. I can't speak.
Parmesan.
Parmesan. Ow. Ow. Damn, Travis. Oh, that hurt. Versus Zippity Doodah. I don't know. I got money on Zipper. Zipper's been doing good lately.
I think that's where I'm at too.
Zipper's been impressing me. So undercard for next week. Rushmore and the final exam. Who you got?
Rushmore, but it's very close.
I agree with you on Rushmore, and it's very close. Okay, for a hot second, I thought I had a typo in my name, and I thought it said "My throat hurts and I'm tried." I thought I fires on that one. I agree with you. I think Rushmore is going to come out on top, but by a slim margin. And then Deception versus Lightning Time. This is a big match for Deception. This is a huge match for Deception, in my opinion. Like I think, like this is right up there with Deception getting to go up against Danger Zone, where it's that like you are taking on two monsters, absolute animals in this game. As two people who are only on, this is their sophomore season. Like, you need to be able to take, like, now you have to take on Ethan friggin' Irwin and Liz Shannon Miller. Like, what you got? Like, this is big for them.
Yeah, but I also feel like they've proven themselves enough that it's not, like, they're not an underdog by any means.
I don't think they're an underdog, but, like, I don't know. Like, there is a little bit of that, like, how much of the new hotness are you? Like, are you new hotness, or are you, like, now just a part of this world entirely? And I feel like these big matches, especially because they're only in their second season, that like taking on an Ethan Irwin and a Liz Shannon Miller in a teams match, you know.
I don't know. I don't think they need to prove themselves to me. They're because I look at this and I'm like, Deception has the edge easy. I think because in the, it's the same thing when I look at Chance go up against somebody. Chance is like always shooting at 90%, always. And then you have to look at his opponent and go, what's their range? Because most players, it's like that range they fire in of like 80 to 100, 75 to 90, right? I think Lightning Time is an 85 to 100 team, right? But like they're still working out kinks as a team. Sometimes it backfires. They end up missing a few questions. I think Deception's always at 90% at least, right? And that's on the back of the fact that Marisol McKee and Adam Collins are just incredible players by themselves. I don't think they need to prove anything. I don't think they like have a disadvantage coming into this. You know, Ethan is both a very imposing player and a not very imposing player. Like,
Yeah.
because you know when you go to play Ethan, the only thing that matters is the trivia. You're not playing Ben Bateman. You're not going to get your ear talked off the whole match. Random rules jargon thrown around, but no challenges. Like, there's no mental warfare that's going to be happening. It's just strictly going to be who knows their questions better. You know?
Yeah.
I think Deception's good enough at that I think they have an edge in that match.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I agree with you completely. With that, I think that's all we have for you guys this week. Thank you for suffering through an episode that sounds less than great because of my jacked up throat. Travis, where can the lovely people find you?
On Twitter and Instagram at Travis Political.
Yes, they can.
Jarod.
Yes.
Where?
Okay. Ow.
I was about to try to do a bit where I took the microphone off the boom arm and just held it. But then that would involve me unscrewing it, and I can't because of the cord.
That would have been really funny. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com. Or if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon page. Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Case and Brion, the Waffle Wizard, Delta 9, Zach Canals, and I'm never going to give you up, never going to let you down, never run around or desert you. It's my new favorite patron. Thank you for your donation. Be sure to consider the $5 tier where sometime after camp, there's going to be a whole lot of content. Go to that $5 tier once our schedules are free again for that kind of thing. We got audio commentaries for Movie Club. We have, what else do we have? We have the Knights of the Nerd Republic versus series, Darth Treya versus Yoda. Tune in. We're going to have Heroic History 101 back soon. It's all going to be right there on our Patreon, $5 tier and up for those exclusive shows. Be sure to check out the Student Store link on the website to get access to all manner of Nerd Academy merch and goodies. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. Thank you all so very much for listening. And smash cancer.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!